Coming to you from sunny Orlando, Florida, welcome to the Paperstac podcast, where we cover current topics in the note industry, give you tactics for your note business, and talk with industry leaders to make you a better note investor. And now, your hosts, Brett Berkey and Rick Allen.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Paperstac podcast. I am Brett Berkey. This is Rick Allen. We have Homero Corona today.
Yeah, super excited. New guest in the How I Bought My First Note series we've been running. It's been wildly popular with Homero Corona.
Yep.
Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to share my story, my journey, and maybe give a little bit of insight for some people that want to get started in note investing or real estate investing in general. So I'm excited to be on here with you guys.
Yeah, tell us about that. Like where you guys started and what got you into real estate, what got you into notes.
Tell your background. Have you always been in real estate, or is it just did you make a jump from, I think the last person we had, they were in the film industry, and then they were winding up in real estate. So it's fascinating to hear the different backgrounds. So how did you get started? What's your background?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of stories I learned a long time ago from different resources, books, different things. If you can get in real estate investing, you'll do well financially, right? And I always knew and learned that. And I actually went to a seminar, I want to say 7-8 years ago. There's a lot of different ones out there. And it was more of the pitch one where it's like, hey, it's $200. We're going to show you guys what to do. And it was more of, hey, you got 3 packages, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. At the time I didn't have it. And I was forking the road. I decided to go into the car business. So I got in the car business and I did well. In my first year, make 6 figures. I became a slave, right? You're only as good as your last sale, is what we used to say. And I knew early on that I wanted to do it long term. So I was in the car business for about 4.5 years. And along my journey, I had met some good friends that were in real estate. And we had talked a couple of times. Then finally, in 2018, I said, you know what? I'm ready to just quit cold turkey. So I quit the car business completely. And a good friend of mine who's a real estate broker and investor, he was doing fix and flips at the time, said, I'll share what I'm doing and what's been working for me. And I think you'll figure things out and what you like doing. So when I first got started, I took the route of a lot of people or some people in real estate wholesaling. So what I started doing was I started door knocking pre-foreclosures. And I got my first deal door knocking. And that's really how I started. But I started in the car business. I had absolutely no clue, no experience, anything about real estate. And one of the advice my good friend told me is he said, I suggest for you to get your real estate license so you can understand the fundamentals of contracts and basic just real estate knowledge. So I did get my real estate license when I first started, and I just started door knocking. And I found out early on, do the thing. If you want to get a deal fast, I always say, do the thing that the least amount of people are willing to do, which is like, everybody says, okay, let's send mailers when you got money, because that's the easiest thing to do, receive inbound phone calls, right? And then less amount of people are willing to cold call, and then less amount of people are willing to door knock, because it's obviously not fun. But I know that if you can get in front of people and have good quality conversations and try to help people out, you're going to get deals. So that's how I started.
Cool. When was that? About what time? Like he said,
2018.
2018. So 2018, you started door knocking, which I came from. My background is wholesale. I started wholesaling real estate in 2005. And I did it from 2005 until the end of 2011. So a pretty good little run there, and then ended up getting into notes by accident in 2012. But that's such a good lesson and that's how I did wholesaling, not really knowing better, but I just wanted to go, if everybody was fishing in this pond, I'm going to go fish in that pond. And part of that was having to be like, look, you got to do the stuff that nobody else wants to do. And I was like, it's hard work. That's how my kids at for sports. I'm like, somebody's always out there working harder than you. And if they're willing to put in that work and you're not willing to put in the work, they're going to get the spot. But if you're willing to do it and put in that work, it can reap the rewards. So were you pretty successful in the wholesale industry?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty successful. Just like you said, it was actually surprising some of the conversations that I was having from these sellers. And a lot of times some of these sellers would actually tell me, they would say, I've got a stack of postcards. I got a stack of mailers. I got a ton of phone calls. You're the first person that's knocked on my door. I want to do business with you. I can talk to you, ask you questions.
Yeah.
And sometimes just because I was there and I was door knocking, they would give me business versus calling, right? So yeah, I mean, I was doing pretty well. My mentor actually told me, my friend, he said, I'm going to show you the fundamentals and the basics. And we had an agreement where I was basically going to get him his first few deals because he was investing in me. And I said, I'm not really concerned about the money early on. I'm concerned about the knowledge and experience. So I decided to take him up on that. And I started getting him a couple of deals. And then after that, he said, after I think it was 3 deals, he's like, I know you're a fast learner, quick learner. You can go from here and decide what it is that you want to do. So from there, I started marketing to other investors and started wholesaling just in general. And then in 2019, I got my first flip from door knocking. It was actually a property in Mesquite, and the same thing. I don't think anybody had talked to this gentleman. He was going through an unfortunate situation. It was his mother's house. He grew up in the house. He actually stayed in the house for the last 5 years taking care of his ill mother, and she had an illness and she passed away. And he was more than anything, I think, going through a really hard time mentally. Mm-hmm. And when he first opened the door, he was just like, you know what? The bank already has this house. I don't want anything to do with it. Don't worry about it. And I just pushed and I said, hey, let's figure things out. I want to help you out. Let's figure out the situation. He was actually very thankful because I think I helped him out more than anything mentally, emotionally. And I was there to help him out through the process. And I was able to do my first flip. It was actually a brick home that they actually only owed like $20,000 on. And he was going to let it go to foreclosure just because he was just out.
He checked out, yeah.
He had already checked out.
Huh.
He had already checked out, and it was unfortunate. But thankfully, there was a lot of obstacles that I had to overcome on that deal because I didn't have a lot of experience because it was probate. And I remember I actually had to take it to a different title company because this particular title company didn't deal with a lot of investors and a lot of like probate situations.
Boy, you gotta have a good title company.
Yeah, you gotta have a good title company. So that's something that I learned on quickly on is having the right team, especially the title company, will make or break a deal.
Yeah.
And I remember that title company, the escrow officer was actually really nice. And she told me, Homero, I'm not sure, you didn't really hear this from me, but I would take this deal to another title company, even though I'm the escrow officer, because I don't know why the underwriters don't want to push this through. You've provided everything that we've asked. Because they asked, can you guys get birth certificates of this person? Got it. Okay, can you guys get birth certificates for this other person? Because it was a little awkward situation because I think there was 3 siblings and he was the only son alive from his mother. His brother passed away. His mother, and everybody within a 5-year span, which is really, I guess, awkward for the title company. Is maybe there's something fishy going on, but thankfully, through a friend, through my network, I said, hey, do you know a title company that's used to closing probate deals or these situations? I moved the file over and we basically closed within 3 business days. And I was just like, wow.
That's great. That's fantastic. That's just, build the team. How did you make the pivot, or what was the thing that led you from doing because it sounds like you were pretty successful at the wholesale, finding the fix and flips. Where did notes enter the picture?
Notes came into the picture actually through just general knowledge of seeing other investors online talking about creative financing, seller financing, and just options of, hey, fixing and flipping, you can make great money, or you might be able to make $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 wholesaling. And then if you're flipping, you might be able to make a little bit more, right? But instead of focusing and making just right now money, why not build wealth? And instead of getting that $5,000, $50,000 today, let me show you a way to make $300,000, $200,000 over the course of selling this property on terms and being able to control and manage notes. So I actually went to a event with Eddie Speed, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Mm-hmm. And I got connected with Eddie. I went to a 3-day event and I was just like, wow, this is really powerful. And I learned that the money is in the money. Right? If you understand what you could do to leverage and create notes and really be the bank, it's very powerful. So I went to an event and actually joined his program. So I've learned a lot through Note School, which is something that he teaches. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I went to Note School, or I'm a member of Note School.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
Similar to that, I bumped into Eddie at there's a 5-star conference in Dallas, Texas, which is a big default conference. Right. And it was really big in 2013, 2014. And I went and listened to him. He was talking about the $100 model, and ended up, I had already owned notes at the time, and my partner and I were like, holy cow. We went down there, started talking to him, and how can we learn more of what we do? And we got a three-day course in Fort Lauderdale coming up in 3 weeks, and we're there. And so I remember walking in and we were like, as soon as we had the first break, he and I walked out and said, I don't know how much they're going to charge us, but we're doing it. We're doing it.
Yeah, that was my mentality as well after going through the third day, is like, there's very few people that are just speaking on this in general, and at this level, I don't know anybody, and based on that experience and the people that I could see in the room, the same thing I said, I'm not sure how much it's going to be, but this is something that I want to do. And that's something that early on I started trying to program my mind and saying, you know what, I want to get to a level where I want to invest a certain amount on my education and my growth. And I know some people run away from that, right? They're like, I don't want to spend any money on education or seminars and events. And it's been a game changer for me. Had I not gone to some of those events, been a part of some of those groups, I 100% can tell you that I wouldn't be where I'm at. 100%.
I'm the same mindset as you. It literally, I think we went with the diamond thing. So it was like, it was $26,000, I think, whenever we signed up. So I don't know what it is now. I know it changes.
Yeah, I became a member in 2019. At the end of 2019, I believe is when we joined.
Yeah. But I remember we left there, and some people, and it's to each his own. Some people are more of, I'm a self-learner, this or that. I'm like, my mentality was, look, I've taught myself a lot about this business, but I would like to stand on the shoulders of giants who have been doing it for 30 years and not game the system or hack the system, but hey, I want to learn as much as I can from them instead of having to do it through the school of hard knocks. And I remember leaving.
Yeah, you want to shorten your learning curve.
And when we left there, we left that 3-day seminar, and like I said, we owned probably 15, 20 assets. I took stuff that I learned in the 3-day course, which you learn some stuff in the 3-day course, but you don't really learn a lot of the stuff unless you're already in notes. We took stuff that we learned right there, and we made back half the money we spent on the drive back from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando. Just, hey, we can do this with this asset right now, and just picked up the phone, called these people, worked out a deal, and I was like, dude, that was so easy. And I would not have got there as quickly as I did, and probably we wouldn't have done anything with any sort of partials or anything like that had it not been for the education.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm right there with you. I remember I actually went with my friend, and at that time we were doing stuff together, and we said the same thing. We looked at each other, and I was like, yeah, this is a no-brainer for us. For me, especially right now with this current market, that group, that mastermind, that mentorship has been everything, because I've been able to find a good amount of private lenders within that community.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's also people that go and that they're like, I don't want to do fix and flip. I want to do wholesaling. I just want to put my capital to work. And I've built amazing relationships that I've met engineers, people from all walks of life. They're like, you know what? I like you, Homero. I trust you. You're in this market. I don't have the time to really go chasing deals and figuring things out. I'd rather just put my capital to work with you. And it's been unbelievable, because if you have a decent amount of private capital, it allows you to really take on a lot more and feel a lot more confident in the market, especially when you're able to restructure them and do certain things where you're able to recapitalize. There's just so many things, but it's so crucial. I can go on and on, but those events can change your life for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. You joined Note School, is it 2019?
2019. And then
where did you get your first note? How did that come to be?
In 2020, if you remember, obviously with COVID, Note School had a lot of, because we joined the 3-day event, and they're like, okay, we got all these events coming up in 2020, and we're all excited. We got started, and it's sorry, all these events are canceled March, April, May for live events. So then they had to pivot, and they had to try to figure things out to do things online. So there was a learning curve to try to figure things out, but I actually created my first note in 2019 on a mobile home, and that's how I really got started. So I basically did a dual origination. I created 2 notes, So somebody from the note school community was a private lender to buy a property in North Texas, a mobile home on 6 acres. I bought it for $140,000, and there was like $6,000 of rehab. It was just really paint, really minimal items.
Yeah.
And then I turned around and sold it for $240,000 with, if I remember correctly, $30,000 down. Mm-hmm. So I created a note for $155 and one for $50, I believe. Yep.
Are you new to the mortgage note industry? Have you been wanting to learn the step-by-step process to purchase your first mortgage note? Well, you're in luck. We've convinced our CEO, Rick Allen, to break down everything he knows about mortgage note investing. Through a series of 50 videos, you'll get everything from start to finish of where to purchase notes, how to purchase notes, and all of Rick's investing techniques he has developed over the many years. From performing note tactics to non-performing notes, Rick gives you everything he knows about investing. Bonuses include our glossary of industry terms, Rick's own proprietary calculators he created to evaluate notes, discounts from our partners, our Rolodex of vendors, a private Facebook group, along with a lot more. We've packed so much content into the Academy to take you from beginner to expert in no time. To learn more about the Academy, go to academy.paperstac.com/welcome. Again, that is academy.paperstac.com/welcome.
155 and 50, somewhere in there. So I created 2 notes.
Yeah.
And I obviously learned some of that stuff that you could do. So the reason I did that was to pay off my private lender. So I sold the first note to actually a local bank. Mm-hmm. And they paid like 95% at the time, just because the borrower ended up being really good. $30,000 down.
Good credit.
Had good credit. He was a contractor. He was a roofer. Mm-hmm. I learned obviously through note school how to make sure your note is valuable, right? Doing all the underwriting, all the RMLO, all those things, make sure that's serviced by a servicer, all those things that if you're not part of a lot of these, schools or events, or you don't really learn. A lot of people just service the note themselves, which obviously can be a headache, right? Yeah, so I sold that note to my private money lender. He was happy, and then I just, still to this day, I have that second note. It's performing like clockwork. And it's just amazing because I kept the down payment, right, profit, and then I have a note that's paying me for the next, 25 plus years.
So you were able to keep a big portion of the down payment, and you paid off the loan. So you paid off your debt, you got paid up front, and you're getting paid for years to come. So that's interesting. Your first note's not one that you bought; it's one that you made. You created it.
That's pretty cool. Have you actually bought notes besides then, or you always just create them?
Yeah, no, I've bought a couple of notes since then. Some of them, a funny story is one of my friends that helped me out early on, he's more a landlord. Mm-hmm. He buys rental, that's his thing. Actually, he has about 100 single family rentals now here in the area. And he actually reached out to me by accident, if you will. He created a note himself and sold the property on terms. And he was like, hey, I know that people, or you'll find out how to help me out, but I'm just trying to sell my note. I'm trying to cash out so I can start doing new builds, because he was starting to do new builds. So I actually ended up reaching out to Eddie, I think around 2019, 2020 as well, and they bought the note. So they bought that note. But yeah, through the community and just some of the groups, I was looking for notes. And I bought a note through one of the Facebook groups, right? Like, hey, I'm selling my note. These are the details. So I went through that, but that took a lot longer. It was not the easiest process. Mm-hmm. And then not too long ago, as I was telling Brett, I actually bought a note on Paperstac, right? I heard you guys speak, I think, at one of the conferences out here in DFW, and you guys were sponsoring, and I'm good friends with Michael, right?
Michael Rogers?
Michael was part of the Note School. Yeah,
cool.
Part of the Note School community. And such a cool, awesome guy. He's just really good community. And he told me there's really good notes. You should check it out. And I had played with it when I first heard about it. And then one day I just started looking on there. And I just started looking at my business. And I just said, you know what? Out of everything that I do, what's what I like, what I enjoy most? And it's rentals, as we all know, right? It can be a headache. And it's, you know what? I really enjoy the notes. Like really having that cash flow where yeah, you may have to do a little bit of management as far as making sure taxes and insurance are there. But other than that, it's like the closest thing to really mailbox money, right? I started looking at the site one day and I saw a note in Texas originated, and it just checked off all the boxes. And I was really impressed with the platform Paperstac on how easy it is to navigate through it and really look at everything that you need to do. I was blown away.
Cool.
I was blown away at just how well it's put together, how easy it is to use, and everything is right there. It's like almost everything is almost automated. The note that I bought, the folks actually put like 50% down. It was like $185,000 sales price, and they put $95,000 down.
Jeez.
And I looked up, checked all the boxes, right? Like low LTV, low ITV.
Yeah, perfect.
Everything you wanted to know. Perfect. So I decided to buy a note. One of the reasons I actually, at that time, is we recently last year sold our cookie cut neighborhood. We moved out to the farm and we got a heavy rehab in a basically old ranch style home. So we got a heavy rehab and we sold our property, and we needed to do a few things before we started some of the big major renovations, because we're going to build a patio pool and do a lot of things. And we had this capital there, and I said, you know what? I don't want to just have money sitting there. I want to put this money to work. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to buy a note. And I said, I would rather start making money for 6, 7, 8, 9 months a year, and then I could get a loan against the note or even sell the note, and I've gotten paid every single month. So my money's just not sitting there, and I can get 3, 4, 5, 7 times rather than just having the money at the bank.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
So
that's smart.
So yeah, no, I really enjoyed your guys' platform, and I was really surprised. And I go to events, and sometimes people don't really know about notes, right? So I tell them, and then I tell them about your guys' website, because anything that I use and I really like, I always highly recommend things that experience. I was actually surprised on the fact that when you basically go in there, you look at a note, and obviously we didn't really go back and forth much. It was, this is what I'm trying to get for my note. And then I made an offer, and then he went back and he said, okay, can you do this? And I said, I can do that. And that was it. And I was like, okay, perfect. Let's move forward. I can close in as soon as you need to. And we closed in I think it was like right around 3 weeks. But I was actually telling Brett, we probably could have closed quicker. Mm-hmm. There was actually just 1 or 2 documents that the seller of the note just hadn't paid attention to. And I hadn't paid attention to other things that we were waiting on in order to get, like, I think wiring instructions or something like that, or get everything drawn up. But it was pretty cool, because a lot of people are like, I don't even know where to start if I wanted to sell my note. I don't know what documents. And it's pretty cool, the fact that you guys have a lot of that stuff already drawn up for folks. Mm-hmm. The notes, the terms, just breaking it all down, make it a really easy process.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's always good to hear that stuff. Any advice for somebody jumping into the business?
Yeah, I would just say start with education. Start with obviously listening to your guys' podcast and information and resources that has to do with note investing, right? There's a lot of good resources out there. We've mentioned a couple, right? I'm sure you guys have a lot of really good content and information out there for folks, right? Mm-hmm. Start learning. I actually see if I have it around, but a book I highly recommend. A book I highly recommend for a lot of folks is Invest in Debt. You can pick it on Amazon, I think, for, I don't know, $12 or $15. It's a very easy to read book. Mm-hmm. I would start reading that book. It has a lot of really basic, great knowledge on notes and helping you understand the power of note investing. So I would definitely recommend that book, Invest in Debt, and just start with resources. Go to your guys' website, Paperstac. That way you can get an idea and start looking at what do these notes look like, what are their pricing, right? Because a lot of people sometimes may say, I don't have $200,000, $300,000 to buy a note. You don't have to have that, right? Mm-hmm. You may start with $25,000, $30,000. There's notes for that, right? It might be a mobile home, it might be land, it might be a vacant lot, whatever the case may be, but they're out there. Yeah. So I would start with education and then going to events, right? I think that's really powerful, really continuing your education. I think there's a lot of events for a few $100s, but you can get really good information. And those events are all over the U.S., basically throughout the entire year. I'm not sure if you even know about any events coming up that people can attend, but I'm sure they can go to your website or wherever you guys got resources. But there's events going on for note investing, right?
Yeah, there's 2 over the summer, Paper Source, DME, then
and it's coming up in week or two.
And the Note Expo.
Note Expo, which we'll be at. Note
Expo is a great one. DFW, right?
Yeah.
Out here. Another great resource is, for example, I hear in Texas, but I think they're nationwide, is Quest Trust Company. Mm-hmm. They put together a phenomenal amount of free events for people that want to basically start an IRA, put an IRA together and use those funds to invest in notes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And a lot of those, the majority of those events are free. So I would say start with the education, go to events, good quality events, and get around the right people.
Network, network is it, right? Just get around the right people, surround yourself. The community is giving, ask questions, people will answer them, help you out. I reached out to somebody today, like, hey, do you have a lien release? And he's like, yeah, here you go. He just sent it over in Word format. So it's just everybody's always looking to help each other out. Speaking of events, where are we going to bump into you? What's the next event you're going to? What's the rest of your year look like? And where can people find you?
Funny thing is, we probably would have been able to connect, but it was a little bit on a tight schedule. I actually just came back from an event in Florida. So I was in Destin. I was in Destin at a real estate conference for mostly CRM and data management and whatnot. And I would just say, for me, you can follow me on also social media. I have actually a YouTube channel where I go over some of the note creations that we talked about on how I created the note and breaking down that deal, showing you guys exactly, like even pictures, details of the mobile home. So I have a small YouTube channel where I post some of the content. It's just my first and last name, Homero Corona, where actually I had told Brett briefly, I was actually pretty surprised. We actually educate the Latin community as well. So I'm part of a group called Real Estate Eventual, where we basically give a lot of free content on
That's fantastic.
How to do wholesaling, how to fix and flip. And we have so much free content, and we actually have a website called realestateeventual.com, and I think we're actually a little over 100,000 followers on some of the different platforms.
Wow.
TikTok, Facebook. We're actually doing a meetup here in North Texas talking about fix and flip. How do we acquire the house? How do we get the lead? What do the numbers look like?
Yes.
How do we find the funds? All those things. And I'm going to be going to next Note Expo and here at the end of the year for sure.
Fantastic. We'll be there. Yeah. Come by, say hello, grab dinner or something like that, hang out for a little bit. Thank you, man. Homero, thank you so much for coming on. It's a fascinating story.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool story.
Always cool to learn stuff. Such a dynamic industry where you meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds, and it's just fantastic. We really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. And you guys are such a great resources for the community. You guys, like us, you guys have the go-giver mentality of, like you said, if somebody needs help, somebody needs a document. That's something that I learned quickly on when I spoke to Brett a few times, is whatever it is that you need, the community is willing to help. So there's a lot of good Facebook groups and you guys. So I appreciate you guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at the events and having some dinner when you guys come out to DFW and seeing your guys' growth as well. And it's exciting. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, cool, man. Thank you. That's it. Another episode of the Paperstac podcast in the books. Homero Corona here to join us, bless us with some knowledge. We appreciate it. We will see you guys on the next episode.
See ya.
Are you new to the mortgage note industry? Have you been wanting to learn the step-by-step process to purchase your first mortgage note? Well, you're in luck. We've convinced our CEO, Rick Allen, to break down everything he knows about mortgage note investing. Through a series of 50 videos, you'll get everything from start to finish of where to purchase notes, how to purchase notes, and all of Rick's investing techniques he has developed over the many years. From performing note tactics to non-performing notes, Rick gives you everything he knows about investing. Bonuses include our glossary of industry terms, Rick's own proprietary calculators he created to evaluate notes, discounts from our partners, our Rolodex of vendors, a private Facebook group, along with a lot more. We've packed so much content into the Academy to take you from beginner to expert in no time. To learn more about the Academy, go to academy.paperstac.com/welcome. Again, that is academy.paperstac.com/welcome.